first record I have, and I actually still have it, my first full 12-inch record that I ever bought on vinyl is Corrosion, Conformity, Animosity. And it's still a great record. I mean, it's trashy. Yeah. Like I said, I hate to say it's like kind of punk crossover, sort of thrash, metal-y kind of whatever, but it's just like hard. It was like a hardcore record. And it's like, you know, I skateboarded a lot then. It was like, it went along with like the lifestyle that I was like into, you know, that music kind of fueled, you know, just skating as fast as I could through the streets, you know. The other day I was just going through my records and I found it. I actually still have the vinyl of that and I love it. And I try to show it to my son. He's big into punk, whatever, and he had no idea what it was, and I was just like, yeah, you should check this out. I mean, obviously Corrosion, Conformity became more of a metal sort of, even Southern rock, like later on in their career, but their first record was like super aggressive.
It's the BBC Radio 1 Rock Show with Daniel P. Carter. The P stands for Pussycat.
Deftones played at Alexandra Palace, sold it out. Had AFI out with them as well, who were also amazing. They were so good. How good were they? Yeah, they were really good. AFI also went into Maida Vale Studios for us the day before that London show. You can hear that session in, I think, June 4th. My lip reading skills aren't great. But they'd recorded an amazing session. Also did a Music Ruin My Life with Davey from the band, which was wicked. You can hear that a little later in the year as well. But Deftones, set list was incredible. Chino had a broken foot. He's broken 2 bones in his foot. And yet, you would never have known. Band were going wild, as was the crowd. So great. So the morning of that show, he came into Radio 1, and we did Music Ruin My Life, where we discussed some of his favourite songs, first record he ever bought, etc., etc. You'll be able to hear all that after this. This is Deftones, Minerva. I don't want to keep going on about it, but that show was so good on Friday. So that morning, Chino Moreno from the band came into Radio 1 and we did the feature Music Ruin My Life. First up, first record he ever bought.
I remember the first record I ever bought, and it was a little 7-inch. And it was Roger from Zapp. He had did a cover of that song, Heard It Through the Grapevine. But you know, he sings through like the vocoder. Okay. Stuff, so it's, you know, it's kind of robotic. Or, you know, it's like, to me, I loved it because it sounded like, I loved robots when I was a little kid, so it was like the most futuristic thing that I'd ever heard. The song itself is probably not that good, but he did actually end up making some really great records. I mean, Zapp was a great band from the 80s. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No, not really.
Almost kind of like funk R&B kind of stuff, whatever, but yeah, he sang through a vocoder, but with keyboards, so it was like, you know, a homemade auto-tune kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it sounded really cool to me as a little kid. I mean, I was probably 8 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then coming of age, I mean, my sister gave me my first cassette, like in my Christmas stocking.
Yeah.
She gave me Thompson Twins. I think Here's to Future Days. I think that was the record she gave me. And she gave me a Depeche Mode Speak and Spell cassette. You know, at that time, that was like my favorite group. Depeche Mode was my favorite group in the world. And it kind of worked because I was like, at that time, I was big into breakdancing and stuff like that. To me, it was the coolest thing because it was like those types of like drum machines and keyboards, but there was like songs and melody there. So it wasn't just like, you know,
Roxanne Shante.
Yes.
Boogie Down Bronx.
Yeah. Although I love that stuff too.
Me too.
Yes, of course. So yeah, but that was like my introduction to like melody and like, you know, just, you know, that really got me into music.
So was she quite a big influence on your musical taste? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, She was really big into Duran Duran. That's how I got into it. I mean, as a little boy, like she's 2 years older than me, so she was she had like all the collection of the videos and everything recorded. She'd stay up. We had this thing called Friday Night Videos. It used to come on in the States, and we'd record it on VHS tape every night, and then and just watch the videos over and over and over again. Duran Duran was kind of one of the bands that sort of pioneered, the music video.
Yeah.
And that, like those big productions and all that stuff, My sister had great taste, and she showed me music, and I, gravitated towards that.
Her name is Rio, and she dances on the sand. Just like that river twisting through a dusty land.
And then, shortly after that, I discovered, I guess, I don't know, I hate to call it metal, but maybe, punk and metal, I guess, whatever. It was all kind of a blur to me at that time. I mean, I bought the first record I have, and I actually still have it. My first full 12-inch record that I ever bought on vinyl is Corrosion, Conformity, Animosity. And it's still a great record. I mean, it's trashy. Yeah. Like I said, I hate to say it's like kind of punk crossover, sort of thrash, metal-y kind of whatever, but it's just like hard. It was like a hardcore record. And it's like, I skateboarded a lot then. It was like, it went along with like the lifestyle that I was like, into. That music kind of fueled, just skating as fast as I could through the streets. The other day I was just going through some of my records, and I found it. I actually still have the vinyl of that, and I love it. And I try to show it to my son. He's big into punk, whatever, and he had no idea what it was, and I was just like, yeah, you should check this out. I mean, obviously Corrosion Conformity became more of a metal sort of, even southern rock later on in their career, but their first record was like super aggressive.
So what would be an album that changed your life? Because there are points where that obviously fluctuates depending on where you are in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to kind of go back and kind of what we were just talking about when I first heard the Some Great Reward record, that Depeche Mode record, and that was when that transition, I guess, sort of when I really was able to connect, like, what I liked about music that sounded futuristic to me, but then, that was my first kind of experience, like, singing along to something as opposed to just like hearing a beat and spinning on my back. Yeah. The one thing that was really cool, I think Depeche Mode also were one of the first bands that were like recording their own samples.
Yeah.
So they would like, I just actually listened to a Dave Gahan interview podcast the other day on Uninteresting. He was like talking about they would just like throw pots and pans down the stairs and record it, and then like take, sample it, put it into a keyboard, and basically make songs out of found sounds and created sounds. And that's what also made it didn't sound like anything else you heard on the radio or in music in general. It was just like no one else had that sound because they created it. So it was just really neat and futuristic to me. I really did that.
Amazing.
Come on and lay with me. Come on and lie to me. Tell me you love me. Say I'm the only one. Come on and lay with me.
That's Depeche Mode, Lie to Me. You're listening to Music Ruined My Life with Mr. Chino Moreno of the Deftones. What would have been your first gig, do you remember?
I hate to keep going back to Depeche Mode, but I know
that's fine. I'm fine with that.
The first concert, the first big concert that I ever went to, like a legitimate concert, was I was kind of a late bloomer. It wasn't until I was 16.
Yeah,
and it was the Violator tour. Yeah.
That's a great.
Yeah, and I somehow, it was a general admission show, so I somehow worked my way all the way to the barricade to the front, and just like was just staring up, and just like it was the hugest production and just everything. It was the hugest thing I've ever seen that close up in my life, and it just like definitely life changing.
Yeah, was that one of the things that was like, this is what I'm going to do? Maybe.
I mean, I don't think that literally. No, I mean, I don't think I left that night thinking it, but like in retrospect, it's like it definitely changed like Yeah, it definitely probably did.
Yeah.
It's influenced me.
I'm waiting for the night to fall. I know that it will save us all. When everything's dark, keeps us from the stark reality.
I mean, as a band, you've done a bunch of covers.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any things that you would like to cover still? What would be a track that you'd most like to cover?
Man, there's so many. I mean, I hear songs all the time, and I think, man, I want to, do a version of that. A lot of times with songs, though, it's like the songs are already great. That's why you like them, and it's really easy to do a version of it that's just not as great as why everybody else likes the song. But so mostly it's just done for fun.
You've done some amazing ones, though.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are fun, and I think the idea of a lot of the ones we did were like songs that usually a heavier band wouldn't do.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like what was neat about them, like from early on doing Sade or whatever.
This is no ordinary love. No ordinary love. This is no ordinary love. No ordinary
I did have an idea the other day. I was listening to Belle Biv DeVoe. It's a song called "When Will I See You Smile Again." It's sort of like a R&B ballad. It's a really, really good song. And I was listening to it in the kitchen the other day while I was cooking, and I was singing along to it. And my wife walked in, and she was like, and she loves like the R&B music. That's like her thing. It's so weird. And she actually suggested, she's like, you need to cover this song. And I was like, all right. So that was like the most recent thing that I thought of.
Amazing. You're listening to the Radio 1 Rock Show with me, Daniel P. Carter. This is Belle Biv DeVoe. We're currently doing Music Ruined My Life with Mr. Chino Moreno from the Deftones. See, that's why I love this feature. You get to play stuff that we would never normally play. Should point out that there was a certain amount of hoo-ha online recently. Hoo-ha! Where, let's do this. Set the tone a little. Chino was interviewed, and for some reason, he was basically saying that back in the day, the band seemed to have got lumped in with the new metal movement, and it was something they wanted to set themselves apart from because they felt like when the ship goes down, that could be them gone with it. And they were forging ahead, doing their own thing. So I think they were asked about touring with KoRn, or I think it had been mentioned about Deftones touring with KoRn again. And he said he wasn't really into doing it because he didn't want that to happen back in the day. And a lot of people were really, really mad about it, thinking that he was currently saying, well, that he disliked KoRn and that he didn't want to tour with them. So, next question was, who would you most like to tour with? Who would be a band that you would most like to play shows with?
I'm going to go ahead and say KoRn. Contrary to all the hate mail that I woke up to yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. It's funny, too, because this is like 1998 when they're asking me about Around the Fur. So, sort of made a conscious decision to, I guess, try to break away from what we were trying to be shoved into,
Yeah.
And not that we felt better than KoRn and Limp Bizkit and all these other bands, but we just wanted really our own identity. One way of helping with that was to do shows on our own and away from what we were getting lumped into. So that's all. But it's just funny how blown out of proportion people get. And I would do shows with them.
Yeah.
I would definitely do shows with them.
I wouldn't be angry if you just truly cried.
So what's something that you're currently jamming?
Man, I listened to this record right now that I believe it just came out maybe a couple weeks ago. It's a group called Dark Sky, and it's just it's pretty much minimal techno-y kind of music. It's all instrumental, but it's really good. It's one of those things where you put it on from the beginning and you can listen to the whole record, and it's it just kind of takes you on a little journey. And I find myself a lot of times listening to instrumental music. It's just kind of what I'm drawn to.
Yeah. Do you find that you start writing to that when you're listening to stuff?
Not really, but I think it's kind of an escape from just like what I'm bombarded with all the time. I mean, especially me being a singer myself, it's like, words sometimes clog up songs to me. It's like I like to hear music, and I guess I get my own visuals on it. I don't necessarily write my own lyrics over it or whatever, but the music itself sort of dictates a lot of times like the mood of the song, and then sometimes the vocals can come in and the words, and it like kind of boxes in what the song could actually be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of times in instrumental music, it's just so wide open, and it's kind of like vast. I could put it on and sort of like escape. And music that's my favorite thing about music. Is like it's an escape, for me.
Yeah.
I'm sure for a lot of people.
Yeah. How did you discover that record? How did you come across it?
You know what? I just found it. Pretty much every morning I wake up, I open my computer and I just start like linking from different things. And
Down the rabbit hole.
Down the rabbit hole. And,
yeah.
I found this record. I had never heard of them before. And I heard a snippet of one song and I downloaded the whole record. Actually, I was here in London a couple weeks ago for rehearsal, and I had my headphones on and driving from the rehearsal spot to the hotel. It was about a 45-minute drive, and every day when I was going back and forth rehearsal, I just had that record in my headphones. And I love when you can put on a record and you can just be staring out the window while you're driving, and it's sort of a soundtrack to that moment. So for the last few weeks, that's kind of been the soundtrack of these shows.
Awesome. This is Dark Sky with Acacia, picked by Chino from the Deftones, who is currently doing Music Ruin My Life. Records that mean the most to him, songs that have influenced his life at various points. Getting to play a bunch of stuff that we wouldn't normally on the show, which is ace. Love this feature for that. What would be a song that means the most to you?
Wow, that's a big question. There's so many different songs for so many different moods. See, something that I always go back to is Prince, maybe The Beautiful Ones from Purple Rain. It's like a perfect song. It's gut-wrenching, it's sad, it's yearning. I love the slowed down Lynn drums, on it. I just love the music. I love the keyboards. They're sort of dissident on some parts of the song where they're kind of, just dark, but it's beautiful. And the lyrics are just like, it's great. Love song or yearning for love, I should say.
Yeah. Do you relate music to certain points in your life very specifically?
Of course I do. But that, like I said, that's one that kind of transcends throughout my whole life. Like, of course, that record and that movie had a big impact on me when I was a kid, but that record has definitely stood the test of time.
Yeah.
And, especially in the last year or so, since his passing, it's like all these emotions come back, and then you listen to the records and they're even harder to listen to, some of the stuff.
Baby, 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 what's it gonna be?
What would be a song of your own that you're most proud of?
The song Anniversary from an Uninteresting Event. It's on the self-titled album. I mean, me personally, I'm probably most proud of it is because I wrote the song in the studio, like in the moment, pretty much from scratch, like all by myself. Stefan actually plays the drums on that song. But other than that, it was just like I was walking from the control room into the lounge through the big recording room. There's a grand piano in there. And as I was walking by, I just sat there and I just started noodling on the piano. And Terry Date, who produced that record, just started recording me playing it. And it's like 2 or 3 parts. It's not like a really intricate song, but I just started playing it. And then as I was playing it, Stefan came in and sat on Abe's drums and started playing like a little marching beat kind of thing
Did you know he was recording it, or was it one of those things where it was just like, well, you're just working on things?
We didn't even think we were working on a song. We just were sort of just like playing together.
That's magical.
It was just sort of very spontaneous. It was written, and then we sort of added little layers to it. Stefan played like some Nord lead on it, I think, keyboards, and then tiny bit of guitar, sort of like washy kind of stuff on it. And then I wrote the lyrics, which I really liked the lyrics in that song, and sang it like in that same day. And just the fact that it was like it came out of nowhere, and it was like I don't know, it's just some reason I'm really proud of it. We played it one time live. We did a cheap benefit early on when he first had his accident. We did 2 shows in Hollywood, and it was Sergio's, I think, either first or second show with us, and every song we had a guest play with us. So we actually, it's kind of funny, we performed that song once, and it was Mike Shinoda playing the piano, Tommy Lee and Abe were both playing drums, and then the rest of us playing the song. It was kind of eclectic little mix of people there, but it was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you to Chino for coming into the studio and doing Music Ruined My Life with us. It's one of my favourite things that we do on the show. Have amazing conversations with musicians about the music that they love, that has influenced them through their life.